the love that overcame the disease. It all began on a rainy evening, when the world outside seemed gray, and the sound of thunder echoed like a warning. Inside a small hospital room, however, there was something far more powerful than the storm. There was love. Emily sat by Daniel's bedside, holding his frail hand, her eyes burning with determination. The doctors had said the disease had no cure, that time would run out sooner than anyone wanted to admit. But Emily refused to believe that love could be defeated by a diagnosis. As she looked at Daniel's weak smile, she made a silent promise. She would fight for him, even when the world told her it was impossible. The news of Daniel's illness spread through their circle of friends, and with it came whispers of pity, of resignation. Yet Emily never allowed herself to drown in despair. Instead, she chose hope. She spent nights researching, days seeking doctors, and moments praying that a miracle would come. And in those sleepless nights, as Daniel's body grew weaker, their bond only grew stronger. Their conversations shifted from fear of what might be lost to gratitude for every heartbeat, every breath, every second they still had together. It was in the darkest nights that their love began to shine the brightest. Daniel often asked her why she stayed, why she didn't walk away from a future clouded with uncertainty. Emily's answer was always the same. Because love isn't about running when things get hard. Love is about standing firm, even when the ground shakes beneath your feet. Her words carried a weight that silenced his doubts. And though his illness threatened to steal his strength, it could never steal the fire in their connection. It was almost as if the disease itself underestimated the force it was up against. Two hearts that refused to surrender. As days turned into weeks, Emily's pursuit of answers led her to a doctor who spoke not of cures, but of possibilities. He told them that medicine could only go so far, but that the will to live and the power of emotional connection often achieved what science could not explain. Those words planted a seed of hope that began to grow inside Daniel. He realized that perhaps his survival didn't depend only on treatments and prescriptions, but on the very love Emily poured into him each day. And so, he began to fight, not only for himself but for the love that believed in him when no one else did. The journey was far from easy. Hospital visits became routine, test results brought waves of anxiety, and moments of progress were followed by setbacks. But through it all, Emily remained unshaken. She decorated his hospital room with photos of their happiest memories, brought laughter into sterile spaces, and held him through nights of unbearable pain. Each gesture reminded Daniel that he wasn't just a patient, he was a man deeply loved. And that love, slowly, began to work in ways no medicine could measure. It gave him strength to endure, courage to fight, and faith to believe in the impossible. Friends who once whispered about the inevitable began to notice something extraordinary. Daniel, once fragile and fading, was regaining a spark in his eyes. His laughter returned, his steps grew steadier, and his smile no longer seemed borrowed from the past. It was alive in the present. They couldn't explain it, but Emily and Daniel knew the truth. Love was rewriting the story. Where there had been despair, there was now resilience. Where there had been fear, there was now hope. And where there had been a disease threatening to end everything, there was now a bond strong enough to defy it. Still, the greatest twist was yet to come. After months of uncertainty, Daniel's tests began to reveal something no one expected. The disease, which had once spread relentlessly, was slowing down. His body was responding, not just to treatment, but to the willpower he had found through love. Doctors shook their heads in disbelief, calling it rare, calling it extraordinary. But Emily called it something else, proof that love had power beyond reason. She had always believed it, and now Daniel was living proof. Their journey became a story shared beyond hospital walls. Strangers heard about their fight and found themselves inspired. Couples on the edge of giving up found courage to hold on. Families torn by despair discovered reasons to hope again. Daniel and Emily's love was no longer just about two people. It became a beacon for countless others who needed to believe that the impossible could happen. The reward for their endurance wasn't just survival. It was the ripple effect of their story touching lives across the world. But perhaps the most beautiful moment came not in a hospital, not in a doctor's office, but in a quiet park where Daniel, now standing tall, looked into Emily's eyes. He held her hand just as she had held his when he was at his weakest, and whispered, "You didn't just save my life, you gave me a reason to live it." In that moment, Emily realized that their story wasn't about a disease at all. It was about the kind of love that refuses to break, the kind of love that rewrites endings, and the kind of love that truly can overcome anything, even the impossible. And so, when people ask how Daniel survived, the answer is simple. It wasn't just medicine, it wasn't just doctors, and it wasn't just luck. It was love, the kind of love that turns storms into sunshine, despair into hope, and endings into new beginnings. Their journey became a living testimony that love is not fragile, but unshakable. And as long as love exists, no disease, no obstacle, and no darkness can truly win. When we hear a story like Emily and Daniel's, we are reminded that life will always bring challenges, some expected and others completely unforeseen. Illness, setbacks, failures, disappointments, these are not reserved for a few, they come for all of us in different shapes. Yet what truly defines the outcome is not the obstacle itself, but the way we choose to respond. Emily could have surrendered to despair, but she chose to fight with love. In our own daily lives, we may not be facing a disease that threatens to take someone we love, but we do face struggles that test our endurance, financial difficulties, broken relationships, dreams that seem too far away. The lesson here is that when life shakes us, we must anchor ourselves in love, faith, and resilience. That combination is what turns storms into paths of growth. Another truth this story reveals is the transformative power of human connection. We live in a world that often tells us to be independent, to carry our burdens alone, to hide our pain behind smiles. But Daniel's recovery shows us that healing is often born in the presence of someone who refuses to give up on us. In our daily routines, maybe it's a friend who calls at the right time, a family member who encourages us, or even a stranger who shows unexpected kindness. These gestures can seem small, but they carry an immense force, the same force that lifted Daniel from hopelessness. Imagine if we chose to be that kind of presence for others every day. Imagine if we became the reason someone didn't give up. Suddenly, our lives would hold more meaning, and the world would feel a little less heavy for those around us. The story also teaches us that love is not passive, it is action, it is sacrifice, it is persistence. In our modern lives, love is often reduced to words, text messages, or fleeting gestures. But Emily's love was expressed in hours spent researching, in sitting through sleepless nights, in refusing to let Daniel feel alone. True love demands effort, and this is a mirror for all of us. Are we showing up fully for the people we say we love? Are we standing beside them when it's hard, or only when it's easy? Every relationship, whether romantic, familial, or friendship, requires that we choose commitment over convenience. And when we do, the bonds we build can withstand anything, even the seemingly impossible. There is also a powerful reminder here about the human spirit's capacity to defy the odds. Doctors called Daniel's case rare, almost unexplainable, but what it truly showed was that our inner will can be just as powerful as medicine. In our own struggles, we often underestimate our strength. We convince ourselves that we cannot endure, that we cannot change, that the outcome is already written. But Emily and Daniel's journey proves otherwise. It tells us that hope is not naive, it is a weapon. It tells us that refusing to surrender, even when everything points to defeat, can open doors that logic cannot. Each of us carries this potential within. The question is whether we will dare to ignite it when life tests us. And finally, the story shows us that when we overcome, our victory is never ours alone. Daniel and Emily's love became a source of inspiration for strangers around the world. Likewise, our own perseverance can ripple into the lives of others. When we rise above difficulties, we not only change our story, we give permission for others to believe they can change theirs too. Every act of resilience, every moment of courage, becomes a beacon for those walking in the dark. That is why it is so important to keep moving forward, to keep believing, to keep choosing love. Because someone, somewhere, is watching, and your strength might be the very reason they don't give up. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this video. I hope this story and reflection have touched your heart and reminded you of the power that love and resilience can have in our lives. If it inspired you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and share this video with someone who might need this message today. Together, we can spread more hope, more courage, and more love to the world.